Who's in the building tonight? Who's in the building today? Jackson State in the building. Okay. Who else? HU. Okay, I know you. Know, I know about them. Arkansas Pine Bluff is for me. Any other universities represented? I heard Midwestern State. Where else? Southern University. Okay. Hold on. The young lady right here in the middle. What was it? Xavier. All these HBCU love. Okay, I'm loving it. North Carolina A&T State. That's a lot of. I'm glad I can remember all of that. That was a lot going on at one time. Gamma. He said. I don't know if they were supposed to laugh at that, but you're represented. Any other universities represented? Morgan. Fort Valley State. All right. St. Augustine. Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. You kind of forgot for a little bit. You sure you went to that school? I'm messing with you. Oh, man. All right. Southern University. Where else? Oh, Tuskegee on stage. Okay. What's your university, Natalie?
Gammon Theological Seminary, the home of the prophets.
Oh, she said that before. How much did they send you some cash out for that? All right, technically it's 1 o'clock, and I think it's appropriate that we are appropriate, and we're going to probably go ahead and get started. Is that okay, Natalie? Yeah. Candy, is that okay? We need to switch the graphics. Okay, once the graphics shift, we will begin. I'm going to use shift in every way I can. All right, so we'd like to welcome you all to Lituation. It's actually a podcast that we've all been a part of and that we started this past summer. We recorded as part of the NNYA. It's a national network of young adults. And we represent that in-between age, so to speak, some of we'll say the hard-to-reach community within the church. And we just would like to represent some of the ideas and some of the possibilities and the beliefs and just really have an open conversation about it. I'm sure y'all are looking at this nice graphic. You can go to, Brennan, real quick, where can we find out and see and experience the Lituation podcast?
All right, check 1, 2. Yeah, there we go. That sounds good. All right, there's 2 different ways. One, you can go to the SBC 21 YouTube page and view, I believe the first 3 episodes are actually live right now on the site. And you can also join our new online community, nnyaconnects.com, and you get to see all of the new episodes before they actually get dropped on our YouTube page.
That's what's up. NNYA Connects is our community. We definitely want you to go check that out. If you don't get on it, make sure you tell someone else about it. And we just appreciate you for joining us as we just kind of have this conversation. And once again, it's a lituation. It's a conversation. It's a situation. And everything about what we do is lit. Natalie, real quick, tell us about the acronym for lit. What does that mean? It's an acronym. It means something.
Yeah, absolutely. So the National Network of Young Adults is very focused in our ability to help young adults between the ages of 18 to 35 hear, discern, and respond to God's call on their lives, wherever God is calling them to serve and whoever God is calling them to be. So we believe that we should stay lit. And so everything that we do surrounds leadership, innovation, and transformation. How do we empower you to be the most highest authentic version of yourself so that you can lead others? How do we help you to innovate in the ways that you can creatively respond to who God is calling you to be? And how do you create transformation in your own life so that you can create transformation that is socially just and that is equitable in the world? So no matter who you are, no matter where you are, go ahead and stay lit. Lead, innovate, and transform.
I like that. You wrote that? You came up with that? That's pretty good, right?
I wrote a lot of grants. I wrote a lot of grants,
that was
so
good.
you know, it's in my head.
It's in your head. Listen, not just in your head, it's embodied. And I think we represent the embodiment of what that is. And when you stay lit, there are so many connections to staying lit, being the light of the world, being the light of transformation, and just being able to lead and guide through transformation. So real quick, we're going to have an open conversation. It's kind of podcast style, so we're just going to talk amongst us. At any point, if you do have questions, I think it's okay to just say, excuse me, I got a question, and we can talk. It's just an open conversation about a variety of topics related to the church and some of the focuses that we have. Can we do that for a minute? Yeah. All right. And to the people online, if you have questions and conversations for the conversation, go ahead and put that in the chat. We will be able to address that. Put a fire emoji in there if you're liking what we're saying, if you're liking what's going on. And like I said, we want to be as engaging and as open as possible. This is not a monologue. This is not us sitting up high and talking low. This is a conversation. We're breaking this wall, and that's what we're about, transforming the ideas and the beliefs and the decisions that we make as it relates to Christianity. Fair enough? Yeah. All right, so let's start the conversation. And the biggest part of the conversation, the overall theme that we're going to have is the culture of calling. What does that look like, right? The culture of calling. Mickey, listen real quick.
I love that.
When you hear that, what do you immediately think of?
It's like so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I hear that, the first thing that comes up for me is defining culture, right? Because culture is subjective,
Mm-hmm.
and it still should be defined in some way. So for me, when I think about culture, the first thing that comes up is the word tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So how has the concept of call, all right, been embedded in a tradition? And when I joined NYA and when I joined Tribe, I think I was there to discern my call, right? And I bought a book, and the book was on 8 different faith perspectives around call. So it was someone who identified as Buddhist talking about call, someone who identified as Catholic talking about call, right? And I sifted through all of those kind of ideas to get an understanding of what I really think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what I landed on is still really abstract, but call is in your center. It's something you feel and something you let happen versus do.
No, I think that's good. You know,
It's
even,
who you be, not
It's
what
who you
do.
be.
It's
It's who you be.
Listen, I think y'all give it up for Mickey. That was really good. That was really nice result. You know, as I think about it, because Britt and I, we were having a conversation. When you think about culture, it's the cult you're in. If you spell it, if you break it down, and when we think about cults, that's not the most optimistic perspective that we have about it. But Britt, for a moment, talk to me about maybe the difference between culture and community, where there's a common unity, there's a common goal, and a connection.
I think one of the great things about this group and us coming together has been the difference. That it's really shown that difference in how we've come together. You know, having our different skill sets, having our different areas of expertise and even interests, but still have come together to put together and do some amazing things for NNYA to help build NNYA, and also to help build ourselves. I think we all have grown through the process of truly trying to find our call together, and grown in ways we didn't expect.
Right.
Even to the point where, in some ways, we've grown to think that the church may not be the place for our calling, and really exploring what that looks like, and how can I be spiritual and still add my spirituality to my vocation,
Right.
even if it's not in the church.
Wow. No, I think that's a really important conversation. Natalie, what do you want to share about that?
So I think of 2 things. Kevin Kosh is in here. He's one of NNYA mentors, and he says this thing, and I want to borrow from him and make sure that I do give him the credit.
Right.
He says that call is not a destination, it's a journey. And I think...
Hold on, somebody write, I hope y'all are taking notes.
At Kevin,
Okay.
at Rev Kev.
Say that again. Kevin Koch said it, and Natalie said it by way of Kevin. But say that again real quick, Natalie.
Calling is not a destination, it's a journey. And I think a lot of us, particularly those of us who are between the ages of 18 to 35, we're not looking to shift to the right. We're already there, because it's not what we do, it's who we be. And so a lot of times, particularly in the work that we do, we're experiencing young adults who have a call, who have an urge, but can't see that, but feel that they have to contort themselves and who they are to fit in the boxes that are acceptable for the church. Right. And I think what's great about our work is that, listen, whether you're called to entrepreneurship, whether you're called to social justice, whether you're called to arts and culture, that is you responding to who God has called you to be and how you're making a difference in the world. And I think that's so important.
So as we talk about that, we talk about who you be and human being. The conversation or the thought that kind of comes in my mind is there's a lot about diversity that happens. But oftentimes we hear the most vanity aspects of humanity related to diversity: gender, the color of your skin, how you look. But what do we, Candy, as it relates to diversity of thought or belief or interest, where does that enter the conversation in the church?
Well, definitely, in the past, it hasn't been. So as we talk about shifting to the right, and as Nathalie said, young adults are coming into their call already on the right, wanting to have those conversations and coming to the table with, this is who I am, not I'm here, use me. This is who I am and this is what I can bring to the table. And so in my experience is how is the church prepared to embrace them?
Yeah.
Yes.
How is the church prepared to help them navigate through the journey, not the destination, but the journey, how to help them navigate through that to find their place in bringing people to Christ. I think that's where we get stuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Our goal is to build disciples. Our goal is not to have so many members on the roll. And we calculate those numbers. I remember back in the day, some of you all may not remember this, and maybe this is not a Methodist thing, but I remember the pastors that would call each other after Sunday service to say, how many people you bring in? How many people you have come up today? And they would high-five each other on who had the most to join church. That means jack. At the end of the day, if you're not embracing those that are coming, so what happens is people are joining church off of emotions. But you have to be at a place where you can take those emotions and cultivate that to direct them through their journey.
Right.
Yeah, very true.
And so that's where the diversity comes in, because everybody has a unique journey.
Right.
But we're not prepared to connect with them in that way because we want everybody to fit in this box.
Right.
We want them to repeat the same liturgy. We want them to repeat how many people still do the Acts of Apostle in worship? You know what I'm saying? We want them to do the same thing. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But we can't do the same thing the same way and accept different results. We can't do that all the time. We have
Somebody
to figure
called
out
that
ways to
insanity
diverse
once a
that
time.
diversity.
Somebody called that insanity.
Insanity.
Doing the same thing over and
think
over
so,
again
too.
and expecting.
Well, even Mickey, where does the role of tradition fit within the progression and moving forward?
As long as you pass it to me, I think
Okay, I'm gonna pass it to Mickey next, but I have to get that one right because, so this is the misconception. The misconception is innovation means always creating something new. I would say let us really tap into our Afrocentric roots and look at innovation not in terms of what is new, but let's lean into Sankofa, right? It's the mythical bird that its body is moving forward, but its face is looking back. And in its mouth is the wisdom of the past. So how do we take the things that work and make them more relevant? How do we take the traditions that are powerful and make them even more transformational and relatable for all ages and generations and races and faith backgrounds and cultural differences? How do we move forward with the things that do work?
Right.
That's one thing. The second thing, you talked about embedded theology and tradition. Can we get away from the thought pattern that we have to build it and then people will come? Can we simply ask young adults, what is the church that you want to see? What is the ministry that will resonate? And give, and it's not hard, but give them the space to create it.
Yes.
Give them the resources and the support for it to be not what your idea of what it should be,
Facts.
but let them build the community that will represent those people that they're called to talk to and to lead and serve.
And
I'm passing it to
wait,
Mickey,
I know
'cause she
Mickey,
gonna get
I
me in
know,
trouble.
got
but
it,
let me
I got
just
it.
say,
And just because we do have to make sure we responsive to time, just obedient to that.
that's
But,
right,
but please,
that's right.
please, Mickey, share what you
wait,
had.
let
and I
me
wanna
say this
jump in.
one thing, Mickey.
Okay, you got it.
Before, I think a lot of the issue with our young people is before we release it to them, they need to be taught. Our discipleship needs to be in check. How have we strengthened them, the foundation of the young people, before we let them go? I'm gonna leave it right there.
So now I'm sorry.
Gotta-
Now
we gotta let Mickey.
we gonna let Mickey, and I want to just add to that real quick. I think the way to do that is teaching is one way, but I think that it starts with the encouragement, right? Like as the elders, right, seeing someone who's younger or just may not have someone who doesn't have as many years, and encouraging them, identifying where their strengths are, identifying and saying, you know what, you do that really well. How can I help you? How can I guide you? How can I inspire you to want to do something better? And being there and being in that space and being open, teaching is the result of having a relationship. Teaching is not an intentional thing that you're doing to impact them. The impact is the result. The shift happens as a result of decisions made. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, you know,
Finally.
it's cool. It's cool.
Mickey's the newest person on the squad, so you know.
And the youngest.
You know, so I was just thinking about like what's one of the most like enlightening things I could share, and I really think it's my story. You know, so I met Natalie a couple of years ago, maybe like a year or two ago, and at that point in my life, I really didn't know what I really wanted, and now I'm in a place where I am preparing to go to the ITC to study. Yes. To go to the ICC to study liturgical arts and culture. And you know, I've been discerning seminary for about 3 years now, and I was telling Kylan early how I'm so happy and so blessed that I didn't settle. Because there were a lot of different seminaries that I was considering, and some I almost even applied to, but deep down in my heart, I always felt like their programs were too narrow for my expansive self. And they were too narrow for my expansive self, so I participated in a discernment program where I got to take a small piece of a class at the ITC, and my class was called Martin's Mountaintop and Nipsey's Marathon. And we looked at basically the theological significance of Nipsey Hussle's life at the intersection of Martin Luther King's life. And 10 minutes into that class, I knew this was it. I knew. And I told the teacher afterwards, I said, thank you. You know, thank you for this, because you just showed me what I have felt in my body for so long, but I never had the language to articulate. And I was talking to someone at lunch, and I just mentioned to them, right, we always say you can't be what you can't see, but you really can't be what you can't codify. Right? You really can't be what you don't have the language to communicate.
Yes.
And on top of that, it'll eat you alive, right?
Come on, Mickey about to sneak a preach up in here.
You know, wait,
She
look,
about to
look,
sneak
and this what came up for me, y'all.
What a
this
offering
what for
plate.
real came up for me, y'all, and I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. I know y'all gonna know when I say it, but they say it's like fire shut up in my bones.
Come on, fire. It's lit.
Right?
It's lit.
So for me, that was it, right? So I talked to this professor, you know, I built a relationship with her, whatnot, and we just had, if y'all didn't get the chance to watch the online session, I did a interview with Dr. Dama Riles. She's at the ITC. She is studying this in her own context, so please watch that conversation if you didn't get a chance to. But in that conversation, she said, she sees everyday theology as, who do you say I am? Right? Who do you say I am? And I think that's why because we have not really adopted that for real, that's why we missing out on all this innovation, because we think we get to tell. No, I get to tell Natalie who I am is. Or I went to seminary and I did A, B, C, X, Y, and Z, so I get to say who I am. Versus just being like, who do you say I am? Okay, so you think I am is the prophetics of black fashion. Let's do it. Right? You think I am is let's go put on this festival with A, B, C, D, and 7, right? Okay, let's do it. I am is expansive.
Can we also lean into Jesus showed us that way?
Right.
Right.
Like literally, those who follow Jesus were called followers of the way. A way that was not in the synagogues necessarily or the temples, but was on the mountainsides, at the well, in the places that people didn't look and smell the way that we wanted them to, and transformation was still there. And so this is nothing new.
Right.
Right? This is simply, and I think this is another thing about why this is so special and the National Network of Young Adults is so special, is because we use flat leadership. It's not hierarchical. I'm maybe the program coordinator, but these are all my bosses. And we don't tell the work what the work needs to be. The work tells us what the work needs to be.
And we try to have fun. For real. Like one day we were all on a call and I was like, y'all, like, if we not gonna have fun.
Why are we doing this?
Ain't work so stressful, right? If we're not gonna have fun, then why would we even do this?
Right.
And you know, to actually even to speak to that, I think that one of the biggest things that I've seen from even working with this team and my own, personal spiritual journey over these past 2 years, is that, like, especially we as a people, we as black people, we have fallen in love with surviving. And we've done a lot to continue to try to survive. And instead of focusing on living, that's what we've given up on, living just to survive.
Right.
And it reads back into, I'm trying.
Come on. You gonna sneak a preach too?
It reads back into what Candy was saying. Like, we're gonna count the number of people we brought to church because we need those people to keep this church and to help it survive. Rather than if I focus on breathing into the life of the community, more people are gonna come to me and we won't have to worry about surviving. If I focus on living,
That's right,
survival is a prerequisite for living.
Come
and
on.
So that's
You can even flip it, right? Because it's not about what you're doing, it's about who you're being.
Absolutely.
And because you are being, doing happen.
Right. We are not humans doing, we are human beings. Right?
And look, you may not know, this came up for me right here. You may not know what, seriously though, look, this gonna be good, y'all. Tweet this.
Tweet this.
You may not know what God called you to exactly, but what we do know is God didn't call us to misery, right? And some of us are miserable in these spaces and places that we're working in. And
Trying
we
to
have
survive.
to be honest with ourselves, right? It's a survival. I'm aiming for abundance, baby.
That's right, Mickey.
Well, listen, and I think that's what we're speaking to, even in the midst of the pandemic and that kind of creating a shift and forcing a transformation. There seems to be a commitment to doing things that really don't benefit us right now, but we're still committed to that. Right? And so that's what we're working. That's conferences like this, conversations like this, and just being open is why we're doing this. And I know we got just a little bit more time. Real quick, I know this is something else important. We talked about the calling, and oftentimes that means you are the leader. You're in front. And a lot of times, even as my grandfather's been a minister, it's being called or you're asked to make sacrifices. And oftentimes it's a sacrifice at the expense of your family. Right? And there's a conversation about having a calling, but not even having enough money to pay for the phone to answer the call. Come on, somebody. Where does that fit within what we do, how we do it, and the impact that we make? Because we have to generate enough. $40,000 will not do it. Sorry.
Can I share?
$40,000 will not do it. Period. With a T.
Can I talk a little bit about
Right.
And you took 90 out of student loans to qualify you to be able to do what you've been called to do. Come on, somebody.
So when I left New York, I left a six-figure job to go into seminary. Not having the language, not knowing anything about it. Nobody in my family ever did full-time ministry. And often throughout my life, I felt this necessity to contort myself to fit in. And early on, because I was recruited into the Methodist Church by Dr. Albert Mosley, early on in the ministry, and I want to shout out Bishop Sharma Lewis, who was my district superintendent. Now she's bishop. But I often didn't see how to be the most authentic version of myself. I didn't see what multi-gifted entrepreneurial ministry looked like. There wasn't a vision for it, but what I knew was I wasn't going to live in poverty.
Right. You weren't going to suffer.
What I knew was I was going to be feminine. What I knew was I was going to have a man that I loved and wasn't going to put preaching in front of him. Those were the things that I knew, even though I didn't see it. And so I think there's two things that's important with that. One, we have to have way makers. I am here today because of a Bishop Tracy Malone. I am here today because of a Bishop Sharma Lewis. I am here today because of women like Candy and Olu and like so many other mentors that allow me to say that even though you may not see it, these are the possibilities for what you can become. So you definitely have to be a way maker. The other thing is you got to really look inside yourself and reject the imposter syndrome. Reject trying to fit into the mold of who somebody wants you to be. And say it even if they don't listen. Be it even if they don't pat you on the back. Build the platform even if they don't come visit you. And know that, come on somebody, know that it's not, know that what you see and feel for your life is real. I really believe that when the scripture says God will give you the desires of your heart, it doesn't mean that God is going to give you everything you want. But if it's the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning, it's the last thing on your mind when you go to bed, that came from something bigger than you. And so it's all about you, but it's not about you at the same time. And so I think those things are really important when we talk about call. And when you're driven by that, resources will come, people will come, relationships will come, and everything that you need, you will have.
That's
Best
really
testimony.
powerful.
I'm sorry, segue 1 second. I want to, I just want to say that you are blessed to have the people that you had to lay down the foundation for you. I came in a time that I was still stuck between never seeing a woman pastor in ministry early on, never seeing anyone that looked like me in a pulpit or doing the things that I felt called to do, and in between people, not just men, but people who wanted me to walk the same path that they walk, to be in a cookie cutter religious society, you know what I mean? And not cultivating the call that I have, not being able to live the best version of myself and do it as ministry. You know why? Because nobody was doing it. Nobody was doing it. If you could preach, you were a pastor. But you didn't have administrative skills. You didn't know how to go. You didn't have chaplaincy
Don't get quiet now.
skills.
Don't get quiet now. Don't get
You know
quiet.
what I'm saying? And the roof is torn up. And the pipes are bursted, and you don't know what to do.
But blaming the devil.
But you can preach, so therefore you are a pastor. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many layers to it, but we're in a position now where we have these bishops and we have pastors that have lived and understand it because we're doing ministry on the right side.
Right side. Come on
so
now.
that they can encourage the next generation to understand that we're not all called to the pulpit. And those that are, and in serving in churches where they have to be the administrator and don't have executive pastors and associates to help them, that we're teaching. Now that's one of the things we know that our seminaries are lacking, They're not getting leadership skills. They're not getting business classes. So you're coming out, you're preaching a good word, you're visiting the sick, but again, your roof is torn up. The pipes are bursted. There's no offering coming in. What do?
You can't market yourself.
Right.
So you got
And
to
your
take
social
B's
media-
social media boot
and you don't
camp.
have no
Well, and I think that's something that's really important. They're not teaching marketing. And even as we
No.
talk about the mindset, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the belief system, the mindset, not just as it relates to the religiosity aspect of it or the theology, but what is your mindset? What is your belief? What is the enabling belief that you have about what you're doing and what you're called to be? And it leads me to the next conversation, a question from Kayla Scott from Howard University, class of 2023.
Shout out to
Thank
you.
you. She briefly says, I feel that the issue for our generation is more than just being heard, but learning from Jesus. How do you all connect with Jesus and hear from him to order your steps? And I think...
I got this one.
So we can't take everybody, but if
No,
you
no,
could
no, I
just...
got you.
Brendan definitely has it. We're going to take the Brendan and Mickey.
And this really leans back into like having mentors and then turning around and being a mentor. One of my mentors and OGs, Reverend William Robinson, affectionately known as Paw Paw, his quote that has stuck with me since I first heard it was, Christianity isn't about telling your own story, it's about creating a story for somebody else. And that has helped me to understand my role in this world, even to be a servant leader, to help churches, to help this group to grow in areas where I'm strong in. I'm good at marketing. I can do this. I can do it in my sleep. To help all of us grow and to do that is absolutely something that is great. And even to now help NNYA with NNYA Connects, and to build this platform where we are trying to garner a community of people who want to be mentored and who are mentors and who can help and build this whole community of people. Like, I would love to have, one of the things that I see, like, in working in the church is there aren't a lot of black marketers in the church. There aren't a lot of black communications people. It's not that we don't exist.
Right.
We just aren't in the church. And I would love to build a community of black marketers and communicators that can then go out into different churches
Into the
and
culture.
serve on different boards and things like
Right.
that. To one, advocate for us as black people and to make the church what it's really supposed to be, the best reflection of Jesus' love that we have.
Okay.
Come on, somebody, that's it.
So let me repeat your question. Let me reflect back so that I can be sure that I'm answering the right thing. So basically you're asking, how do I hear from God? How do I hear from Jesus, right? Okay. Okay, cool. So I'll give you some practical things that I do. So first and foremost, I read my Bible, okay? And that's simple. That's simple. But I think deeper than that, it's like, there's a thin line between reading and studying. So more than read, I study. And just really quickly for me, now y'all gonna help us all out after this, right? But for me, what I do is I come to the Bible with a question. I'll be like, what am I going through? Oh my God, I'm stressing out about blaming myself for something. So then I may get my phone and I'll Google stories in the Bible or people in the Bible who dealt with blame. And then I'll find that story and I'll begin to read it. And rather than reading it with my mind, I read it with my body, okay? So I'll pay so much attention to, as I'm reading, if I read a word, how do I feel in my body? And if I feel in my body, I know that I need to pull that word out. I need to get the origin of that word. I need to do a word study, right? Like, I need to start really trying to figure out what is God trying to tell me through this word. Or I'll pay attention to if there's a mental movie coming up in my mind as I'm reading. And I'll pay attention to what images am I seeing. If I see an image, I'll Google that image and then look for clues in that image about what God is trying to say to me. Also, one thing that I really find helps is that it's rarely answers that I get when I'm studying the Bible. It's questions that
More
God
Have to
drives
answer.
me to follow up on, okay? So read your Bible, study your Bible. I'm happy to study with you if that's something you like. Like, we can do it together, or NNYA Connects, because it's hard to do it on your own, but for me, Bible study has been a meditation. And that moves me to my second practical tip. Meditate. I got into yoga by practicing yoga nidra. Yoga nidra is a sort of yogic sleep where you go to that state where it's right between sleep and awake. And in that state, your mind has the freedom to kind of just roam a little bit, and things come up. I hear so much more clearly. A lot of times, prayer is less about talking and more about listening. So I would encourage meditation. And then also, last thing, I would encourage studying with others. So one time I heard somebody say that the Bible is God's love letter to us. And one cool thing that I love about that is that if we may got the same Bible, but Candy got her own love letter in that Bible. Natalie got her own love letter in that Bible. Brennan got his own. I got my own. Derek got his own, and you have your own. And if we all get together, you might get revealed something that you need to tell me. I'm gonna get revealed something that I could tell y'all that's gonna move us faster, quicker, longer, right? That we never would have been able to access if we didn't do that work together. Okay, so those are 3 practical tips that I think you can use. And yeah, connect with me. I would love to connect with you.
Can I give a quick tip to the pastors?
That was good. No, 100%.
So, marketing world, that was just qualitative research. You heard a young adult ask a question that was answered by a young adult. So, you take this answer, how can I now provide exactly what she said? How do I study the Bible? If I'm teaching people how to study the Bible, that question doesn't come anymore. You see what I'm saying? That's qualitative research that you can do just from listening to the people around you and provide services, Bible studies, and all the things that people are looking for just from listening to the people sometimes.
And I think that's a great point. I think it takes it to another level. Instead of telling them what to do, sharing the methods of how to do.
Right.
See, sometimes on Sunday, it's a lot of inspiration, but no instruction. And when we follow directions, we don't have to make choices because it's understood. And so positioning your brand, your church, your individuals, your institution as a space for listening, that's what the testimony was for. Stand up and share your story so that other people can maybe understand and align with your experience and maybe see through that and beyond that. That's wisdom. The wisdom happens before the wrong decision is made, not after you learn from it. That's learned.
Hey, Derek, I want to share one more tip for you, okay? Go beyond the Bible, okay? Go beyond the Bible. So I had to start saying sacred text study, because God is in all of this, right? So figure out what is another sacred text for you, right? And it don't gotta be, it could literally be like, I don't know, right now I'm reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, right? Or, I like to read and stuff.
She reads.
I like to read and stuff. Or I really like music. I really love music, popular culture, entertainment, and a concert can be my devotional, and that's a sacred artifact for me. And you can hear from God through those things as well.
Can I add some churchy, clergy, United Methodist language to what Mickey just...
The 30-second version, if you can.
Okay. What she just explained to us is a framework that we call the Wesley Quadrilateral. Come on.
The who?
Tradition, experience, reason.
Y'all smart, y'all intelligent.
Right, they already know it. They institutionalized.
And that's perfect because I don't know what that means, right? So instead of saying it like that,
but listen.
Come on, I need my translator up here.
Listen, that's literally, it's funny that you say that because that's what really happens is when, that's why we talk about this lituation. Before any action happens, there's a conversation, there's some talking that happens, there's some strategy that comes before that. And let's go to the next question. What is your advice? And if you two maybe say Candy and Brennan on this one. What is your advice on translating this lituation into the local church? Okay. Well,
Okay.
Listen, well, I'll set it up, and maybe we just add to it. But I think what we're all talking about is really creating a space to listen.
Go
How
ahead,
you
Candy.
answer the question you asked us?
Oh, what happened?
Candy got the answer.
Oh, she got the answer? No, I said just creating a space to listen, just like what Brendan said. Even if you take it from a branding standpoint, the brand is what the audience says about you.
Right.
Advertising is what you tell them. So we're spending too much time telling and not listening, right? So position from a local standpoint or even a practical standpoint, literally create a survey. Go to SurveyMonkey and make 5 questions. Offer a Chick-fil-A gift card or something.
Let me say.
Like create a way for you to listen and hear back, because your people will tell you what they need every single time.
They
And the
are
opportunity
telling you.
and they really are telling you. You just have to listen and be willing to share and experience and engage with them. All right, go ahead, Kenny.
No, I was literally going to say the same thing. It's about listening to what your people want. You know what I mean? Like you said, we did a series of webinars not too long ago. If you haven't seen them, go to sbc21.org into our resource section. But we did a series of webinars, and I talked about hospitality in the church. And one of my pet peeves is, why is it that I can go to Chick-fil-A and be treated better than I can in the house of the Lord? That's it. That's it, right there.
Because Chick-fil-A take care of their people.
Exactly. They
got some
care
good
of their
chicken, too. Like, let's
people,
not be-
But they have trained. It's about training.
My pleasure. There you go.
All it is my pleasure.
Well, and it's about serving, right?
Right.
It's about understanding.
Because they're in a service industry. And when we understand that, we say we're called to serve, but are we really serving? And then do we teach our people to serve? We don't. We expect that they know, but we all know that common sense ain't common.
Right. Well, and to
All right, I'm not gonna take up
even
all
to
the
add
time.
to that, like when you think about what Chick-fil-A offers, they're not offering everything to everybody. They are specialized
In
and
chicken.
certain about what they offer to
And
their
good
people.
chicken.
It's
God
chicken.
bless
the
chicken.
chicken sandwich, the chicken salad, it's chicken. So
And they
being
don't
able
even have
to,
the chicken salad no more.
Well, they don't-
because
it was
it
too
was
far
right,
outside of the
that
scope.
was outside of the scope. So they stick with what they have. So I got in trouble on that webinar because I used Chick-fil-A as an example. Some people have issue with Chick-fil-A, so I'm gonna move over to Nordstrom's. They used to have good customer service. You know what I mean, Jasmine?
I don't know
That's
what
our
those
story.
snaps mean,
Okay.
but she understood.
Right, I did. So you got Nordstrom's, who I know we gotta hurry up, but their customer service is whatever the customer wants, we will make it happen. Okay? They focus on that and they're done. One of the things I learned from a predominantly white church I worked at a few years ago, they knew exactly what their outreach was, how they were going to operate. They did not deviate. We had 2 black men at the door who refused to leave because they were hungry and they wanted food. They went to the kitchen, fixed them food. They did not want it. You know why? Because they wanted gift cards, and that's what the church does. They give out gift cards. They have an amount they give out per month. When that is over, that's it. This church had plenty of money, but how they keep their money is they designate what goes where. So my point is, Nordstrom's designated, we serve our customers. The church designated, this is how we're going to give. We don't do that. We try to do everything and be everything, and we suck.
Burn out.
We messed up.
burn-
We
yeah,
bummed.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
bummed because we
Come on.
missed somebody.
Yeah.
In that, but if we could just stick to
And
what
then
it
people
is,
get mad
and
because
just
they
say-
don't even know what we offering and they want
Right.
And then they leave. I'm mad because they ain't give me no gift card. I ain't going to church there no more. You know what I mean? But not understanding what it is. So taking that and pouring it into. But going back to the question, I'm gonna let Mickey
One
go.
way you can get the lituation to your church situation is to invite us out, right? Like,
yeah, we
there
could
are
come.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. We can be invited out as a team, right? We can be invited out individually if there's one person that you really felt spoke to you in your ministry.
Me?
Have us out, okay? A lot of us.
We're just gonna send Mickey to y'all, and we'll send him emails.
She can represent us all.
We gonna send you.
Okay, look, I'll go, all right? We can have a talk. But yeah.
But no, this was really good conversation. And as we close, I know we got to close real quick. I think, you know, because we're talking with leaders, right? And these are not just black church solutions. These are real
Life.
solutions. Because if it works, it works.
Yes.
Right? And when it works, it works. But just if each one of us can just, in a real concise way, what's the one thing that if your leader asks you for something, what would you tell them that you need to make sure that you can do what you do better in the church? If each one of you all could share that. We start with Brennan.
A budget.
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah.
We get one thing.
Just one for the concise,
One thing.
for time.
One thing, one word.
One thing, one word. Yeah.
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Like,
What's the one thing that
just being real.
Authenticity.
Okay, so I'm more Mickey Grace on Instagram and Twitter. Please follow me, okay? That's MOREMIKIGRACE. And the things that I need, resources, I'm preparing to go to seminary, so any financial resources you all have available, please.
She said, not one paragraph, one word. I'm sorry.
Resources.
Resources. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go.
Scholarships.
Somebody say she finally got it. There we go.
Bags.
Just one word, Natalie.
She did not understand the assignment.
I would say infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Infrastructure. That's a good one.
That was good.
Yes. Well, there's a method to it, right? There's a method. Come on, Candy.
That was good. And resources. I'm gonna say trust. I'm gonna keep it simple.
I'm going to say move. Get out the way.
Hey.
Check y'all.
Mike.
God bless. No. See, we're finished. We're finished. But and I mean that in the most. I'm now doing what Mickey's doing. But when I say move, be willing to step.
How you give us
How
one
you
word?
gonna tell me?
I just wanted to balance it out with Mickey. And I'm close. I'm the moderator. I'm moderating this thing. But no, just move as in and just allow for the shift to happen, so the faith can move. That's what I mean, right? That's where we're coming from. So once again, we appreciate everyone all on the panel for joining this conversation. The Lituation. NNYA, listen, NNYAconnects.com for more information about how you can connect with us. We are all available to share our thoughts and our leadership and our perspective about helping to grow and advance and just connect the church. So we appreciate it. And
Y'all give it up for the SBC 21 NNYA team. Give it up, give it up, give it up.